Okay, sir. One sincere student is enough.
And I think Dr. Sadanand, can you wait for one more at least? Two is better than one. I mean, I don't know.
But only Navya will be there. I have been seeing that this
Okay.
batch many are
Okay.
busy. So why
So
to
can
waste
I can
time?
I can I start now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So this is the class on behalf of the Master of Arts in Migration and Diaspora by IGNU, Indira Gandhi National Open University. The course coordinator being Dr. Sadanand Sahu. He has been organizing these courses in a very appropriate way, in a very hardworking way, diligent way for over the years. It's a very useful course. Number of students have taken this course in the last couple of years in many semesters. So I'm really appreciative and grateful that Dr. Sahu has um, been able to manage these courses. And I think all the courses that are being offered in this particular semester, they are of immense importance for India, for the world, for disciplines, including for migration, those people who have got uh, abiding interest in migration studies and diaspora. So this particular course is MPSE 001 or MPSE 1. That's the code number. The title of the course is India and the World. When we say India and the world, I think let me spend few minutes. I mean, why the course is titled this way and what it means, what it implies. I mean, so you cannot divorce India from the rest of the world, because if you look at quickly at the bit of history from 1945 to 1990, it was like a Cold War, like a bipolar world uh, between United States of America and Soviet Union. Then the end of the Cold War, the dismemberment of then Soviet Union. Then 91 onward, again it's a unipolar world led by the United States of America, and that continued for about 8 or 10 years. Then around the beginning of this century, 2000, we have got a multipolar world. Multipolar means there are different power centers in the world, and that called the multipoles. America is one, China is one, Germany is one, UK is one, France is one, India is one. So you can pick and choose different important multiple powers. Okay. So that continued for 2000 onwards. But again, a lot of things has changed in the last 25 years. In the last 10 years or so, some people, some scholars, they say instead of multipolar world, now what we see is a multiplex world. Uh, and what uh, they mean by multiplex world is it's almost like going to a multiplex, like a cinema, where you see a variety of movies being shown at the same time. Some Bollywood movies, some Hollywood movies, etc., etc. So what you do is you pick up some popcorn, you go to a movies of your choice, and you spend time on that one. Okay, so you have got number of choices. So in the world, if you take it in an international relations or in a global uh, point of view, you have a world in which America is there, China is there, Japan is there, India is there, UK, France, Germany, many other powers, they're all there. There are major powers, there are middle powers, there are small powers. But at the same time, you have got also a rise of what I would say the global south. Global south means the developing countries, the underdeveloped countries, countries in Latin America, countries in Asia, countries in Africa, for example. I think all of these countries. So you have got global north, which are very rich countries, powerful countries, affluent countries. You also have got global south, very aspirational countries. They're trying to come up, okay, trying to develop, okay, coming from the bottom up kind of things, okay. So that is, but a lot of people will say in the last couple of years, in the aftermath of Ukrainian crisis, this Gaza crisis, a lot of things are happening. War between Congo and Rwanda, I can pick and choose. And the recent class, the Operation Sindoor between India and Pakistan, and many other places you can see. So people say instead of a multipolar world, maybe what we are seeing is a messy polar world. The whole world has become very messy. Okay. So, there are different interpretations by different scholars. They talk about this kind of thing. So India and the world, so what I'm trying to say was or convey was India should not be seen in isolation. During the Cold War, basically each country was by himself or herself. Everything was done in a mode of self-dependency. in the 1990, 1991 onward, for example, in India, we have P.V. Narasimha Rao as the Prime Minister. We have Dr. Manmohan Singh as the Finance Minister. That's the time when we started this process, what we would say, globalization, privatization, liberalization, opening up India to the rest of the world. Before India, I remember when in the 80s, I came to JNU as a student. Uh, we had got, there was no Coca-Cola, there was no Pepsi-Cola, it was all Campa-Cola. Either you love it or you leave it, okay? But then again, because that was the policy at that particular time. But again, you have got now choices. Now today, if you go to a multiplex, you go to a mall, you have got a lot of choices, okay? And you can pick and choose any cars, any automobiles, any iPhones, any computers, whatever, okay? So instead of a self-dependent nation state or a country, or a state. Now we have got interdependent status. So that's the big shift during this globalization process. Instead of interdependent, self-dependent, I'm all by myself. But in today's world, you can't do everything all by yourself because everything is interbedded or embedded or interconnected kind of thing. Today, for example, if somebody does something crazy or stupid, willingly or deliberately in a computer, okay, some cyber crimes, okay, it affects all the computers all over the world, okay. If there is some computer glitch happenings in some places, all the people standing in the queues in airports, they are all stuck because everything is computerized, okay. So there is, if something is happening, some drug issues in Thailand or any other places, everything is interconnected, okay. So today's world is interdependent world. You cannot, even a small country like Nepal or Bhutan or Bangladesh or Maldives, you cannot say they are just like a tiny mini more kind of countries, okay. They also contribute significantly in some ways, okay. They do have some leverage. Every country has leverage. Look at Qatar, for example. How big is Qatar? I mean, if you fly above Qatar in a plane, maybe it will take 10, 15, 20 minutes, okay? The entire Qatar is gone. Look at Singapore. How big is Singapore? How big is Vietnam? But today, I mean, I'm talking in terms of size, but the real power is not based solely on depend on the size, okay? Size can vary, okay? But the real power that they exert can be highly disproportionate. Okay, Qatar is a country where the Taliban's, the different factions, they agree to meet there. Okay, recently when this Gaza-Hamas crisis, the hostage issues, the negotiation took place in Qatar. The FIFA World Cup took place in Qatar. Number of meetings. This Israel and Iran. The Qatari mediators, they mediated that kind of thing. Okay, Vietnam, look at that. I mean, there was a time when the French used to invade Vietnam. The Americans had the longest war in Vietnam. Vietnam was completely destroyed and decimated. But today, everybody is trying to or trying to attract Vietnam. America loves Vietnam. China loves Vietnam. Japan loves Vietnam. There is also demand that maybe Vietnam should be a member of an expanded Quad, quadrilateral initiative, which is consisting of countries. Okay, USA, Japan, Australia, and India. Okay, so Vietnam can be a small country. I remember many, many years ago, I was in London and I read a book by scholar Kenneth Wall. It's called Small is Beautiful. Okay, and also my teacher at Cornell in USA, he wrote a book called Small States in World Economy. So small does not mean small by any means. Okay, so the whole world is changing. So the point I'm trying, like in the G20 conference that we held, okay, the G20 summit 2 years ago in India, in Delhi, okay. Remember the motto of G20, one earth, one family, and one future, okay, because all the future is connected. Energy crisis, global warming, okay, cyber crime, terrorism, all of these issues. It is not country A issue or country B issue or country C issue. It's an issue which is transnational in character. So everybody need to join hands together and they're trying to do something tangible, something meaningful about it, okay, something very concrete about it. Because that way it will help everyone. That's why our Prime Minister used to say, "Sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka prayas, sabka viswas." Okay, so it is not me. Everybody is all together. Okay, that's why we read in Upanishad, "Basaudhaiva Kutumbakam." Okay, the whole world is like a family. So you don't think in a very narrow, parochial, or ethnocentric point of view. Just it's my way or the highway. You cannot do like that in today's contemporary world. In terms of theories of international relations, okay, in chapter 1, you have got evolution of India's view, okay. I think just let me touch the tip of the iceberg a little bit, okay, and I think you can understand very clearly. For example, there are some basic theories in international politics, in global politics, in international relations. For example, the realist theory or realism in international relations. What realist theory talks about? People like Kenneth Walls, Henry Kissinger, Alexander George. Okay. So these are the people that say realist theory, international politics, global politics. If you go back to the theory of Kautilya, Arthashastra, Niccolo Machiavelli, Hobbes, okay, again, it comes more or less the same thing. Like the realist theory, they talk about few things. Number one, power. Everything centers around power. A country can only move up in the ladder if they have got real power. It can be hard power, it can be manifested power, it can be muscular power, or it can also be a more benign form. It can be a soft power. Okay? And I will discuss that in due course. Okay. Power is one component, a very important ingredient. Also, similarly, we have got national interest. And I'm not talking about only India, for example, okay? So any country's national interest, of course, if I'm the Prime Minister of India, or if somebody else is there, okay, he or she has to defend the national interest. I can give you an example, like the 1962 war by Nehru, 71 war by Indira Gandhi, intervention in East Pakistan that ultimately led to the birth of um, Bangladesh. Okay, in 1998, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the prime minister, the decision taken by Vajpayee government to go for nuclear explosion. Okay, Pokhran 2 explosion. Okay, a lot of people in the world are very
Yes, sir.
angry about it. Okay, but he said this is in the national interest of the country. Okay, in 1971, Mrs. Gandhi, she said this is in the national interest of the country to intervene. Okay, we can't see the genocide of the Bengali people, all those things. Okay, so at different times, okay, globalization, the process by Narasimha Rao. Okay, or the 2008 nuclear deal that was initiated by Dr. Manmohan Singh. Okay, with then U.S. President George W. Bush. Okay, or even during the recent
Yes.
crisis in the Ukrainian crisis. Okay, by Prime Minister Modi, that because he could clearly see that the price of oil, gas is going to rise. Okay, so we got some subsidized oil from Russia because Russia has got a lot of um, oil and we can get it in a lower price. Okay, because we have to keep the price of oil because India imports about 80 to 85% of oil from outside. So we don't have enough oil. We are not self-sufficient in terms of oil or natural gas. Okay, so we depend on others. So if somebody is telling us at a reduced rate or at a subsidized rate, we should go for it. A lot of countries in the world, they didn't like it. They said, no, no, no. Russia is intervening in Ukraine and things like that. So that is a separate issue. And our Prime Minister was also very
Yes, sir.
right in saying this is quote unquote, I'm quoting Prime Minister Modi, this is not an era of war. And maybe, and I think you should give India a lot of credit, okay, that India is one of the rare countries in the world today which can have a good friendly relations with on both sides of the aisle. Okay, it's very rare. Okay, our prime minister can
Yes,
pick
sir.
up the phone and speak to Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. Okay, and tell him to exercise his strength to find a peaceful negotiation, peaceful resolution of the Ukrainian crisis. Similarly, he can also pick up the phone at the same time with Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. He can pick up the phone with Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel. And he can also pick up the phone with the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, okay? Because India has got good, robust relations with both Israel and Palestine, with both Russia and Ukraine, and with many other countries. Not many people are fortunate in doing so, okay? We have got good relations with Iran. We have also good relations with USA, okay? But Iran and
Yes.
USA, they are probably at loggerheads, okay? So we try to exercise restraint. So wherever possible, we try to exercise leadership in that particular position and we try to put our point of views, okay? Some people like it, some don't, but we say this is the right way or this is the right approach and to go about it, okay? So
Yes.
the point I was trying to make was in the realist theories of IR, okay, theoretical foundations, okay, in terms of India's foreign policy, India's global view, okay, power is important, national interest is important, self-help is important. Okay. First, I have to stand up on my own leg. In the 60s and 1970s, we had a lot of food shortages. Okay. So what we did was at that time, we tried to learn some of the technologies like the Green Revolution. And later on, it expanded into White Revolution and also Blue Revolution. Green Revolution means India in the 50s and 60s and 70s, in the early years and early decades, post-independent. We are not self-sufficient in agriculture. Okay. India's population at the
Yes,
end, the time of independence was something like 330, 340 million people. Today, India is the most populous country in the world, outpacing even China. 1.45 billion people. Okay, maybe going to be 1.5 billion people. So that's almost like 5 times more than what we had 75 years ago, 80 years ago in 1947. But around 70s, we got some technologies like thanks to Nobel Prize winner Norman Borlaug. So we invented that even by planting the same rice, okay, in the rice fields of India, in the long hinterland, okay, from Bengal to Odisha to Andhra to Tamil Nadu, Kerala, okay, we can get a lot more yield, okay. And thanks to Green Revolution, by the end of 70s and early 80s, India was being able to be a self-sufficient country in terms of agricultural output, in terms of agricultural productions, okay. Not only you could feed 600 million, 700 people at that point of time, I'm talking about 70s and early 80s, but we could also have a lot of surplus, which we could export to other countries in Africa, in Latin America, and many places, and we can get a lot of money, a lot of foreign exchange in the process. I remember in 2017, I was a visiting professor in Moscow for one semester. Whenever I used to go to a supermarket or a grocery store, okay, I used to buy some rice, and I could see rice made in India, produced in India. Okay, all kinds of rice. Okay, so not only just you have got even Kohinoor rice, Dawat. Okay, India Gate, everything is available. Okay, today you go to any part of the world, you can see Indian products, agriculture products. Okay, Indian mangoes, Indian jamuns. I can just because this is the jamun season and the mango seasons. Okay, so national interest, self-help. Okay, so white revolution means the dairy revolution, the Amul factories in Anand in Gujarat. Okay, so India is now one of the largest dairy producers in the world. Okay, the blue revolution, India has a long coastline. If you look at the eastern coastline, the Bay of Bengal, Odisha, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, all the way. Okay, to Kerala. Okay, on that side also, on the west side, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, all those things. Okay, so we have got Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, and in the bottom we have got Indian Oceans. We have got a lot of marine products, marine aquatic things. Okay, and we also get a lot of revenues out of that. Okay, from fisheries, from many other. Okay, so now India is one of the leading countries in the world, which is #1 in green revolution, in very successful, white revolution in terms of dairy products, and also marine products in terms of the blue revolution. Not many countries in the world have done that. So power is there, national interest is there, okay, self-help is there, okay, and other two components are survival, okay. You need to survive. Realists are very smart people. Kautilya, Machiavelli, Hobbes, okay. Every country, whether it is Nepal or Bhutan, countries in the world, okay, even India, okay, we need to survive, okay. We have to decide what is good for us, okay. At the end of the day, I have to survive, okay. And not only survive, we also have to prosper and we also have to thrive, okay. So that's very, very important. Having said that, the final point that I'm trying to make as part of the realist theory is that we have to admit and acknowledge that the whole world is very chaotic, is very anarchic, okay? There is a scholar called Hedley Bull, a British political scientist. He wrote a book called The Anarchic Society. So we believe that there is anarchy all over, okay? Everybody attacks everybody, everybody, okay? So that's the reality, okay? But having said that, we need to work it out. We need to find a space. We need to carve a niche, okay? So that our country's national interest can be put forward. Okay, and whether it is a scheme like Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Viksit Bharat, or any other schemes, okay, Swachh Bharat, okay, Nirmal Bharat Abhijan, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. I mean, you know all those things, okay? Beti bachao, beti padhao,
Yes, sir.
thousands of things, okay? And irrespective of political parties, UPA 1, UPA 2, NDA 1, NDA 2, 3, whatever, okay? But one thing is clear, everybody believes in power. All governments since independence till today, okay? 14 prime minister has been there, okay?
Yes, sir.
National interest at different times, okay? Self-help, etc. Realist theory, neo-realist, that is another theory that came that also applies to India is the neo-realist. The neo-realist theory, like Robert Keohane and Joseph Nye, they say, okay, all the things that the realists say is valid. But also, how about capabilities? How about social constructions? I
Yes.
think those are also very, very important. Okay. And that I think we embedded into our foreign policy, into our all our domestic imperatives. Constructivists, they say the realist and neo-realist, they miss out one thing called ideas, norms. Okay. Because if you go to, for example,
Yes, sir.
Oriental society like Korea or Japan or let us say Vietnam or Thailand, okay, they put a lot of emphasis on cultural norms, cultural ideas, and that is very much embedded with their decision making, with the kind of things that they do. Okay, so that is also very, very important. Decision making theories, that is also very part of the India's policy toward the world. You need to be decisive, okay, and it has to be very rational. You know, in international politics, we say about a rational actor versus irrational actor, or rational versus non-rational. Rational means what? Somebody is slapping you once, you slap him or her once. Okay. Or if somebody slaps you 3 times,
Yes, sir.
slap that the other person 3 times. That is kind of proportionate. Okay. Which is
Yes, sir.
very, very much understandable, very much logical, very much predictable. But let us say you're walking on the street, somebody slaps you. Okay. And what you do is you take out a knife and you stab that person. Or you take out a
Yes.
gun or a revolver and you shoot that person. Is that rational? No, it is not rational. Let us say tomorrow, Japan catches some fish catching vessels of North Korea. I'm just giving a very imaginary hypothetical examples. Okay, Japanese
Yes, sir.
guard catching hold of some fishing vessels of North Korea. Okay, and detaining them. But North Korea, Kim Jong Un,
Yes.
he gets angry, he gets mad. Okay, now what happened? Japan got hold some of our fishing vessels. Okay, that is not acceptable. So what he does is he asks his army, the North Korean army and the North Korean military, to put atom bombs in Tokyo and Osaka. Is that rational? It is
Yes,
not,
sir.
because it is
Mhm.
highly disproportionate. The punishment must fit the crime. Okay, they got hold of
Yes,
your
sir.
fishing vessels. You have to take some other uh, reactive measures, not putting a bomb. Okay, if somebody slaps you, you don't have to stop that person. You don't have to kill that person. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So taking that thing to a
Yes, sir.
international relations or a global politics, okay, decision-making approach, and it is done in a very calibrated manner, okay, without any emotions, without with a utmost sense of responsibility, also with your utmost sense of rationality. Rational, that word is very, very important. Rational. Group thing. Irving
Yes.
Janis talks about group thing. So who do we take decision? You know, different countries, like we have authoritarian government, totalitarian governments, dictatorial governments, monarchical governments, democracy. There are also of different types of democracy. Okay, but some people say the best policy is to have a group thing, like a collective thing, like you belong to a
Yes, sir.
particular club or a group. Okay, let us say in my university, my students would like to go on a picnic or an excursion to a place. Okay, so I talk to everybody. What do you want to go? Oh, let us go to Simla, let us go to Dehradun, let us go to Dubai, let us go to Kathmandu, let us go to Jaisalmer. Okay, so you take a collective
Yes, sir.
opinion, then you decide what is the best thing to do from a physical point of view, from a financial point of view. Same thing in terms of taking an important policy decision, you take the opinions of the defense minister, foreign minister, finance minister. Okay, take a collective view. Okay, then you ultimately take a decision. So that's like a group thing. Example: 1961, the Cuban Missile Crisis, when John F. Kennedy was the president of the United States of America. Okay, when this
Yes.
whole world was almost in a danger of witnessing the Third World War between USA and USSR, then USSR. Nikita Khrushchev was the
Yes.
president of Soviet Union. John F. Kennedy was the president of USA. The year 61, issue Cuban Missile Crisis. Why? Because Soviet Union had placed nuclear weapons on the soil of Cuba. And Cuba is hardly few miles away from the coast of Florida, from the US national territory. Okay. And that was not acceptable to
Yes,
Canada.
sir.
So then these 13 days, the messages were sent back and forth kind of thing. Ultimately, Khrushchev agreed to withdraw all those nuclear missiles back from Cuba, back to Russia. That diffused that particular crisis, that ended their 13 days crisis called the Cuban Missile Crisis. And during that 13 days, President John Kennedy, he discussed with all his cabinet members, including the Attorney General, who happened to be his brother, Robert Kennedy, the Foreign Minister, Secretary of State, Dean Rusk, the Defense Minister, Robert McNamara, the National Security Advisor, George Bundy. So I'm just giving you some example, okay? Same thing with
Yes,
Bangladesh
sir.
in 1971, okay? So again, going back, okay, so if somebody asks you, what are the, and in India, we don't have to follow just one theory, okay? We sometimes take a combination and in a cumulative way about different times on a crisis, okay? What we should do, how we should respond, okay? Maybe realist theory
Yes,
works
sir.
best, maybe idealist theory, maybe near-realist theory, maybe constructivist theory, maybe decision-making theory, maybe groupthink theory, maybe combination of some of them, okay? Depending on the situation, depending on the issue, depending on the context of them, okay?
Yes,
In
sir.
terms of the various phases of India's position in the world, okay, particularly since 1947, I think if you look broadly uh, from 1947 to 62, why I picked up 62, that 15 years, and Nehru was the prime minister. That was mostly the post-independent. People are very, I remember when we were small children, we used to sing Bande Mataram, Janagana Manadhi, all those things. I remember once
Yes,
I
sir.
was very small, and I did not, my teacher asked me to go on a Prabhat Feri in the morning at 5 o'clock. So in the morning I slept, okay? By the time I woke up, it was already 5:30, 6 o'clock. I was so angry. Then I asked my mom to dress me up properly so that I can go to school and go in a procession. Those days were different. Okay.
Yes,
Today,
sir.
I think hardly any kids go to school on Independence Day or Republic Day. They prefer to stay at home, watch in the mobile or eat pizza, etc., etc. But those are the days. It is very, very different. It was mostly romanticized,
Yes, sir.
mostly very idealistic phase. Okay, during the Nehruvian period. 62 to 91, that 30 years period, I think, and we have got Lal Bahadur Shastri, Indira Gandhi, Morarji Desai, Charan Singh, again back to Indira Gandhi. Okay, then this
Yes, sir.
Rajiv Gandhi, then P.V. Narasimha Rao. It was mostly from idealism to self-help. Okay, like I gave you this example of Green Revolution. Okay, that we are studying. Okay,
Yes, sir.
we gave you examples of the 65 war that we fought against China, Pakistan. 71 war also we fought against Pakistan on both sides, on the east and the west, and on the east ultimately it led to the birth of a new nation called Bangladesh. Okay, then 91 to
Yes, sir.
present, again the end of the Cold War, the beginning of the post-Cold War, the beginning of the process of globalization. I think this particular phase, we say this is more a pragmatic phase, okay? We become realistic. For example,
Yes,
roughly, if you look at India's decision-making, foreign policy, India's approach in the world, it was mostly, although it was non-aligned, we are not aligned with any other countries, but mostly we put eggs in one basket, namely Soviet Union or Russia, okay? But after 91, suddenly we saw Russia is not the same that it used to be during Soviet Union. It is now splintered into small, small countries, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan,
yes,
Turkmenistan, etc., etc. Okay, so
yes, sir.
instead of putting all eggs in one basket, we became smarter. That's why we came up with non-alignment 2.0, meaning, of course, uh, we take our own decision, but it will be based on strategic autonomy. That's what we say. Strategic autonomy means if it is in the national interest of India, we'll also shake hands with the devil. Okay, we'll try to
Yes,
take
sir.
a decision based on our needs. Okay, if Russia wants to help us to make Bokaro steel plant, okay, thank you very much. Okay, please give us. If Russia wants to help
Yes, sir.
in making underground metro in Calcutta, which they did, we are very thankful to them. We are very appreciative of them. Similarly, Japan
Yes,
government
sir.
provided us these underground metro systems in Delhi. we said thank you. Now they are making bullet train from Mumbai to Ahmedabad. Okay. IIT Kanpur was financed by United States of America. Okay, the smart city. Okay, all over India. In Bhubaneswar, Odisha, that is being funded by the government of Germany. Okay, so what I'm saying is we took help from different countries, but without any strings attached to it. So we said, okay, if some country would like to help us, okay, in good faith, we'll accept it, okay, and we'll say thank you, okay, because we're always grateful.
Yes, sir.
But you cannot tie the economic aid, okay? We are not going to accept any financial aid or economic aid with strings attached to it, with conditions attached to it, okay? But if
Yes.
somebody would like to help us so that we can stand up on our own feet and we can be a leading power, a rising power, okay? That is perfectly understandable. That is perfectly okay. So again, we also try to move on with the changing times, okay, because things change, okay, like after 9/11, for example, 2001, September 11, the terrorist incidents in New York, Washington, Philadelphia, okay, a lot of the policies has
Yes,
changed
sir.
last 20, 25 years, okay. In the world, you can see, and again, as I said, you cannot live in isolation. Like in a society, you cannot live by yourself. It has to be in a more communitarian things, okay. And
Yes.
also, you have to take a decision in terms of the changing geopolitics, geoeconomics, and geostrategies. Okay. For example, Indo-Pacific. Now it's a big issue. Nobody talked about Indo-Pacific 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Now we are talking about it. They used to call Asia Pacific. Okay. Now Indo-Pacific, because of the rise of China and also the convergence of interest between Australia, Japan, India, and many other countries. Okay, we have got new initiatives like IMAC. Okay, India Middle East Economic Corridor. That was an idea
Yes,
that was
sir.
created during G20. You must have seen. Okay,
Yes.
that India and all these Middle East countries, Emirates, Israel, Jordan, then Europe. Okay, also we have got a
Yes, sir.
block called I2U2. I2U2. India,
Yes.
Israel,
Yes.
United States of
Like,
America, Emirates. Quadrilateral initiative, as I just said. Okay. Of course, we are members of the
yes.
SAARC, South Asian Association of Regional Countries. Okay, all these 9, 10 countries. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, all these things. Okay. We are also part of the BIMSTEC,
Yes, sir.
part of uh,
Yes, sir.
Indian regions. Okay. So we are being very pragmatic about it. Pragmatism means you have to be always 2 steps ahead of the curve. Okay. And
Yes, sir.
you have to preempt a lot of the things that might happen. Okay. The best case scenario, the worst case scenario. Okay. Some things may happen, something may
Yes.
not happen. Okay. Like, for example, earthquake can happen, pandemics can happen, many things can happen. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let me also tell you very quickly, when we talk about India and the world, this is in chapter 2, 3, or 4, okay, in terms of objectives and determinants. There are certain things which are very um, plus points, or which are also very inherent strengths of India, okay, in terms history, for example.
Yes.
We have got not many countries in the world that are that fortunate. We have got on our back more than 5,000 years of history, okay, and that holds us well.
Yes, sir.
I remember during the end of the Cold War, a lot of people felt that India might be fragmented, just like the way Soviet Union was, okay? But India did not. India still is in one
Yes,
set.
sir.
Okay? Well, I'm not saying everything is hunky-dory, everything is perfect in our country. There are a lot of things that need
Yes,
improvement,
sir.
there are a lot of challenges, there are a lot of problems. But there are certain things also that hold us together. Okay, one of the things I like about India is when we argue about each other. Like, that's why Amartya Sen wrote that book called Argumentative Indian. You see two people in the street or three people, they have got three different ideas, three different viewpoints. Even in
Yes,
your
sir.
family also, if your mom asks you, what is the breakfast that you need? Maybe you can say something. Maybe your brother or sister, they can say something else. Maybe your dad will say something else. Okay, or mom or grandma,
Yes, sir.
they will say. So the thing is, that is perfectly okay. People can have their own different choices, different things, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, I think we agree on certain basic kind of things, okay? And I think that really helped us in terms of the Indianness kind of things, okay? And because of that history,
Yes, sir.
5,000, 6,000 years, all the way from Indus Valley civilization till today, that helped us. Geography, not many people are that fortunate in having this Himalayas, the Vindhyas, the long coastlines, Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, etc., etc. Okay, and you have got rivers,
Yes, sir.
etc., etc. Strategic cultures, historical cultural factors, the persona of the leaderships from Nehru to Modi, okay, ideological things, bureaucratic. So I think a lot of these things, I think we need to remember that, okay. Rich
Yes, sir.
historical heritage, India's historical ties with different parts of the world in West Asia. India's policy used to be mostly with West, okay, in the Konkan
Yes, sir.
corridors, in Calicut, in Bombay, etc., etc. But in the post 1991, after Rao and Manmohan Singh was there, they developed this Look East policy. And during Sushma Swaraj's time, okay, that Look East policy became um, Act East policy, okay?
At
And
least. Yes, sir.
yes, so now it has become a very much a cornerstone of India's foreign policy. So we felt that West
Yes, sir.
Asia is there. Of course, Central Asia is important, Latin America is important, European Union is important, Africa is of course very important. We're trying to connect with all these countries. Remember in the last week or so, I think Prime Minister Modi uh, deliberately he chose countries like, for example, he went to Brazil. How many people go to Brazil? Argentina, okay? He went to
Yes, sir.
Trinidad and Tobago. Okay. I mean, we just read about it when the West Indies cricket team used to come to India. Okay. Or there is a significant population of Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago. He went to Namibia. He went to Ghana.
Yes,
I only
sir.
heard about Ghana when I was a student in JNU. One of my roommate was from Ghana. He used to be a diplomat. Okay. So Ghana was a very important member of the non-alignment, okay? And there was a president, I'm talking
Yes,
about
sir.
40 years ago, called Nkrumah. He was a very important member of the non-alignment movement in Ghana. So Prime Minister chose deliberately the countries, okay? He also visited countries like Mongolia, okay? He visited a country called Fiji in the Pacific, okay? Below, if you look at the map, near New Zealand, okay? And Fiji also has a significant amount of Indian diasporic population, okay? And they are also making significant contribution to the polity, to the economy of that particular countries, okay? India's
Yes, sir.
historical ties with West Asia, Central Asia, Southeast Asia, India's leading edge in computer software and ICT, information communication technologies, because we are very strong in soft power. I remember when I was in Japan, um, one of that years, I think the year was probably 2000, and the prime minister then was Mr. Yoshiro Mori. Usually, when a foreign heads of state or head of government they come to India on official visit, they usually land in the capital of the country, like Delhi. But guess what? He first flew to Bangalore. Okay. Why? Because
Yes,
Bangalore is kind of the Silicon Valley of India. That's where all the big
yes, sir.
companies, the ICT, IT companies are there. Okay. You have got TCS, you have got Infosys, you have got Wipro, you have got Microsoft, you have got Adobe, you have got Samsung, you have got all kinds of IT people. Maybe some of your relatives may be there in
Yes,
Bangalore.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So India is the leading soft hour, okay, and lot of countries they take advantage of India's advantage. India's middle class, that is again another very important one. Currently, I was reading somewhere, probably 600 million people are India's middle class. Middle class are the emperor of choice, okay? Middle class is someone who can buy pizza, who can order things from Blinkit, okay? They can go to a movie once a week or twice a week, okay? They have got some surplus incomes, okay? So that number has
Yes,
grown,
sir.
okay? Maybe because of the migration from the rural to urbans, maybe because of the affluence. India was the fifth largest economy in the world. Now it has become third largest. Okay. So I think we have
Yes,
made
sir.
significant stride in the last couple of years and last couple of decades. India's vibrant young population. I think that's again a big thing. A lot of people don't pay that much attention to the demographic aspect. When I was in Japan,
Yes, sir.
everything looked very colorful, very greenery, very nice, goody kind of things. Okay. But Japan had a big problem in terms of demography, the population. People were getting older and older. I think Japan is one of the rare countries in the world where people live much longer. I went to a place called Okinawa Island, okay, where most people are
Yes, sir.
100 plus, okay, 104 years old, 105 years old. They're very active. They're working in a rice plantation, etc. etc. They used to say hello to me, waving hands, etc. etc. But the downside is there are a lot of women, they get married or they marry late or they don't plan to have a baby, or whenever they plan to have a baby, they're already 40 plus, 42 plus, okay? So the biological clock is ticking. So they don't have that buffer. They don't have that young population in the middle. So there are enough
Yes, sir.
people in the 80s and 90s or 100-year-old, but not enough people who are 20 something, 30 something. So that's why they're desperate to hire people from India, from Southeast Asia, from other countries in the world, because they have to maintain their economic affluence, their economy, etc., etc. So that's a big population. That's also a big issue in China. There is an issue in Russia also. And I remember a couple of years ago, even Putin, he promised a significant amount of economic package, a cash award to anybody, okay, who is planning to have one child or two child or three child, because they need babies so that they can be in that thing. I'm not saying because otherwise everything gets stagnant, everything gets stuck in that thing. So India has a vibrant young population comparatively. Okay, I think about below 25, we have got almost 50% of the population, and if you see below 35 years of age, 65% of the population. So, for example, India's population is what? 140, 145 uh, crores, okay? So just imagine that 700, 800, 900 million people, they are below 25 or below 35 years of age. So I think that
Yes,
is
sir.
driving force in putting the country forward. The other strength of India is, I think, if you look and in terms of its standing in the globe, is the diversity across culture. So I think a lot of people say that unity through in diversity. Okay, we are
Yes, sir.
same, but we are also different. Like if you fly from Delhi to, let us say, to Kochi, for example, Kerala. Okay, you are probably flying over many states. Okay, and you know
Yes, sir.
the people in Kerala, they are different. People in Himachal, they are different. Kashmir, they are different. Okay, that is, of course, the Indianness kind of things. But there is this cross culture, this, okay? And India is one of the rare countries, okay, where we believe in pluralism, we believe in splendid diversities, okay? We eat differently, we dress differently, we speak differently. India is one of the rare languages where there
Yes,
are
sir.
many official languages. You can appear in UPSC exam for IAS exam, taking any languages, for example, Telugu, Tamil,
Yes,
Malayalam,
sir.
Odia, Bengali, whatever, okay? Use of English by the educated elite. This is again another plus point of India, okay, in the world. Okay, not
Yes,
many
sir.
countries in the world they can compete with India. Of course, English is being spoken by a small, but if you take it in a more absolute number, in a cumulative way, many people, like, if you ask somebody in Simla or Manali or any part in Delhi, okay, any foreign tourist, okay, I mean, they feel so
Yes,
comfortable,
sir.
they feel so much at ease, even though even a chai wala,
Yes, sir.
even a chole bhature wala, they can speak little bit English, they can tell you what the price is, things. You go to other places, like you go to Singapore, sorry, you go to China, you go to Japan or many places. The language is a big issue. Whenever I used to travel, I used to take an interpreter. When I was in Russia, I used to have a friend from Bangladesh who used to speak both Russian and also English or Hindi. Okay, so it is very. I mean, those people who have been to other countries in the world, if you see people are very hesitant. Okay, in Europe also, in Germany and in
Yes, sir.
places. Okay, so India is one of the countries where English is understood. There are so many English newspapers, people do understand English, at least they can speak half English like that. Okay. In India's public diplomacy, again,
Yes, sir.
that is a very big plus point. Public diplomacy means, like, remember, a couple of weeks ago, Prime Minister of India, in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, he decided to send official all-party delegations to different part of the world. Okay. So different political parties,
Yes, sir.
Trinamool Congress, Biju Janata Dal, Samajwadi Party, Congress Party, BJP, So he picked up randomly plus and former ambassadors. Okay, you group, you go to these 4, 5 countries. You go to these 4, 5 countries. You go to those 5 countries. Okay. So that way, that is again an extension of the public diplomacy. Okay. ICCR, India
Yes, sir.
Council for Cultural Relations. That is again
Yes,
an
sir.
organization of the government of India. They do a lot of meaningful activities. They send India chairs to teach for 1 semester, 2 semesters in some countries, okay, about India's stand, India's knowledge systems, Indian languages, Indian dance, India's Buddhist traditions, etc., etc.
Yes, sir.
India's public diplomacy, India's hard power capabilities and soft power. Hard power, military power, economic power, Trisul, Nak, Pinaki, Agni 1, Agni 2, Agni 3,
Yes,
Agni
sir.
4, Agni 5, etc. Soft powers, okay, all kinds of soft power, Bollywood, Indian cuisines, Ayurveda, cricket,
Yoga.
yes, yes. Rabindranath
Yes,
Tagore book, okay. Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Patel. You just name it, okay. There are so many of them, okay. Yoga,
yes,
for
sir.
example. Yes, you're trying to say something?
Yes, sir. So I want to add one more point that our spiritual heritage is also
Yes,
booming nowadays. Yes, sir.
exactly.
So foreigners are coming for recreational activities and especially to understand our spiritual heritage. So that is
Exactly.
also very, yes, sir.
Very important. That I salute you. Okay, you put your fingers on the right one. Okay, spiritual heritage. That's a big trump card
Yes,
of
sir.
India. Okay, in terms of the soft powers. Okay, I remember that. I mean, lot of
Yes, sir.
things. What when we live in this country, we don't appreciate that much. Maybe because we don't notice that. When I go outside, I appreciate India more. Why? Because I
Yes,
see
sir.
firsthand. When I was teaching in Japan, I'm giving a personal example quickly. Okay, when I taught, I spent 8 years in Japan. Okay, as a visiting professor teaching about North America, about Japan, India-Japan relations, India-South Asia relations. Okay, I remember one of the course I
Yes, sir.
taught during the break. Some students they requested me, Professor Alam, can you arrange to show us an Indian movie? I did not know that Indian movies are also very popular in Japan. And it is not in Hindi
Yes,
language,
sir.
but it was in Japanese subtitle. Okay. So then I went to a nearby the video store where there are a lot of the Japanese movies, Chinese movies, but they also had a section and there are few Indian movies. Okay. And in those years, I
Yes, sir.
believe the year was 2000 or 2001, I'm forgetting. There is a movie called Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam by Sanjay Leela
Yes, sir.
Bhansali. Okay. And the hero was Salman Khan and the heroine was Aishwarya Rai. Okay. And that movie
Yes,
was
sir.
very popular in Japan in Japanese subtitles. A lot of the movies were there showing. It was so popular and it was running simultaneously along with the movie Titanic at that same time. So I borrowed that
Yes,
movie,
sir.
rented that movie, brought to my class. It was a long movie, I believe 2 hours, 3 hours. Okay. So I showed them a chunk, 30, 40 minutes. Okay. Because I had a long class, 2 hours, 2.5. And students just loved it. It was all in Japanese
Yes,
subtitle,
sir.
and students loved that. And there is another movie called Dil Se by Mani Ratnam and starring Manisha Koirala. But you'll be very surprised
Yes, sir.
if I ask you who was the most popular Indian film star in Japan. Okay? Can Navya, can you tell me, can you make a guess? Who is the most popular Indian film star, film hero in Japan or in Singapore?
So it would be Shah Rukh Khan, I guess.
No, it is not Shah Rukh Khan. You'll be very surprised. It is Rajni Khan. Okay.
Okay.
That people, I was very
Okay.
surprised. There is a movie called Dancing
Yes.
Maharaja. And the movie in Telugu was, sorry, in Tamil was Odaru Maharaja, starring Rajnikant. It was so popular.
Yes,
These
sir.
students love Rajnikant. Personally, if you ask me, I don't like Rajnikant movies that much. I like the person, but because he just comes
Yes,
and
sir.
throws everything up in the air, kinds of things. Okay, a lot of things appear
Yes,
very
sir.
funny, very surreal kind of. But you go to Singapore, you go to Fiji, you go to Malaysia, you go to Japan. People are crazy to watch Rajinikanth movies. He's so popular. Okay, over there. Just I'm
Yes,
giving
sir.
an example how Indian Bollywood movies, Indian cuisine. When I was in Japan, 1997, 98, at the beginning, there are maybe 10, 20 restaurants in Tokyo. But later on,
Yes, sir.
I saw there are more than, today, if you go to Japan, in very big cities, you find more than 100 Indian restaurants there. So Indian cuisine,
Yes, sir.
spiritual heritage, the Indian democracy, you find all the Indian literary masterpieces in all the Japanese books, okay, with all the translations,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Ayurvedic centers are there, yoga centers are there, Indian dance, music, okay. So all of these things are very, very
Yes,
important.
sir.
India's economic resurgence,
Yes, sir.
okay, there is nothing to say, okay, a lot of things that we export, even in defense also, okay. Today, I think we have got, it's like an industry, okay. A lot of the African countries, a
Yes,
lot
sir.
of the countries in Latin America, they would love to get a lot of these indigenous kind of missiles, indigenous kind of things that we do. India's diasporic population, of course, this is a course that Dr. Sahu has
Yes, sir.
strenuously built over the decades. Okay, very nice course, very vibrant one. The India's diaspora, okay, significant population, maybe 25, 30 million people worldwide. You go to places in Canada, to US, to Singapore, to Fiji, to Trinidad, Tobago, to Guyana, many places. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, nobody heard the term called diaspora. Today, it's a very much a common phenomenon. Our Prime Minister, he
Yes, sir.
takes it a point whenever he goes abroad on a visit, he makes it a point to address a big crowd called Namaste Modi or Howdy Modi or in Madison Square Gardens, okay? Because it is in part of
Yes,
our
sir.
public diplomacy outreach, okay? Extending our India thing. And also the India diaspora, they've been doing significantly well in many different ways. I was in USA for a long time. I can tell you in the 1980s, okay, this Festival of India, the movie Mahatma Gandhi, the PBS public broadcasting system serials, which is that called? The Jewel in the Crown, the movie called Passage to India, based on the novel David Lean, okay. All of these things are
Mhm.
extremely popular. In early 80s, when
Yes,
I
sir.
was there, I took a course called India, Society, Economics, and Politics. Okay, maybe 30, 35 students. 2 years later, I became a teaching instructor for that same course. There are more than 100 students. So the popularity of India-centric courses has gone tenfold, 20-fold in the 80s to 90s to 2000. In those days, in early
Yes, sir.
80s, when I was there, uh, in the beginning part, maybe 6 or 8 universities, major universities in America, Harvard, Cornell, Columbia, Princeton, they used to offer courses in India. But later on, within those 10, 20 years, today, if you go to America, maybe more than 100 universities are offering courses. When I was there in
Yes, sir.
2013 or 14 in North Carolina as a visiting professor, I was very surprised. I gave a lecture on India-America relations. There are 200 people sitting on the auditorium, and they're asking me all kinds of questions. So there is now a big awareness about India, that India has come up a big way, in a long way in academics and many things. Indian politics, look at Kamala Harris, look at Nikki Haley, look at Kash
Yes,
Patel,
sir.
okay? Even in Trump. And the interesting thing is, the, uh, the Indian Americans, the Indian diaspora in America, they used to do very well during Democrats like Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, okay, or Joe Biden. But they're also doing significantly well or even better under uh, the Republican administration, whether it is George W. Bush, whether
Yes,
it
sir.
is Trump 1 or Trump 2, you can look at all those things, okay? Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, many other people, they're holding very, very important positions in different ways.
Yes,
So
sir.
Indian diaspora, they're doing exceptionally well in academics, in politics, in economy. You go to any motels like and they have got, it's owned by a Gujarati person or a Maharashtrian person, etc., etc. And same story in
Yes, sir.
Singapore, in Fiji, in UK, in Canada, half a number of members of parliament belong to Indian origins. Okay, number of ministers, they're holding positions, they happen to be from the Indian diaspora. So yes, Indian diasporic population, except few rotten apples here and there, I think they have been, quote unquote, what they say is a model minority governments. Indian think tanks, I think
Yes, sir.
also very important. Okay. So I'll just conclude in the another 2, 3 things, then I'll pick up the next class. Indian think tanks, for example,
Okay,
here
sir.
in Delhi, we have got think tanks, the government think tanks and the private think tanks. Okay. And I have been involved
Yes,
actively with number of them. For example, just yesterday, I was there in IDSA, Manohar Parikar Institute for Defense and Strategic Studies, IDSA. This is funded
yes,
by
sir.
Ministry of Defense, Government of India. Okay, pretty close to the airport. Okay, IDSA, Institute of Defense and Strategic Analysis. They do all kinds of analysis. They have got different clusters: West Asia, East Asia, Central Asia, South Asia, Middle East, all those kind of things. And they do very intensive research, and they've been doing it the last 40, 50, 60 years. Okay, that is one. Another example,
Yes,
ICW,
sir.
Indian Council for World Affairs. That is in near Connaught Place, in Sapru House. They also do, that is funded by Ministry of External Affairs. Okay. We have got Ministry of Education. They also have got that. Okay. We have got ORF, Observer Research Foundation. Every year they come with a Raisina dialogues, okay, where they invite leaders from different parts of the world. They have very brainstorming sessions. Recently, there is a new think tank that has come up called CRF, Chintan Research Foundation. Okay. We have got VIF, Vivekanand International Foundations. Okay. So what I'm trying to
Yes,
say,
sir.
there are a lot of think tanks, CPR, Center for Policy Research, plus a lot of these universities, IGNU, for example, JNU, for example, Jamia, for example, OP Jindal, for example,
Yes, sir.
many other universities. They are doing a lot of things. And these think tanks, they're very well known. It's not that only American think tanks or British think tanks are important, but Indian think tanks are taken very seriously and they're doing a very serious job and doing a very good job. Okay. And a lot of things we
Yes,
can,
sir.
that also help us, help a lot of people in understanding, in also in acknowledging what India has done over the years. Another important thing is, which is also India's, in terms of discipline, is the cross hybridization among disciplines. I think that has also been a big thing. Remember, 30 years ago or 50 years ago, when Prime Minister Nehru used to go to America, let us say, okay, let us say,
Yes, sir.
he only pick up his foreign minister. Okay, you come on, okay, be in the plane, let us go to America. Today, if Prime Minister Modi goes to a foreign country, he picks up
Yes,
people
sir.
not only from the foreign ministry, he picks up people from the commerce ministry, economics ministry, okay, water resources ministry, energy ministry, education ministry, okay. So Dharmendra
Yes,
Pradhan
sir.
will be there in the plane, okay, in the prime minister's entourage, okay, when he goes outside. Why? Because the education minister, will sign some MOU, memorandum of understandings with the counterparts, and trying to explain what
Yes,
is
sir.
P 2020, new education policy 2020, okay. So I think
Yes, sir.
today we are not only, because I'm a student of political science, okay. So we cannot say political science is just this point to this point. I cannot say like that. Okay. Political science,
Yes, sir.
history, political sociology, political psychology. Okay. Everything is embedded. Okay. Social anthropology. So
Yes, sir.
today you cannot talk in terms of just micro or a macro level kind of things. Everything is connected with one another. Okay. In terms of
Yes,
discipline.
sir.
So that's how the policy is also being embedded. Okay. Commitment to SARC and support. Remember SARC, South Asian Association of Regional
Yes,
Cooperation.
sir.
We are the leading members, okay? But we also, like when the earthquake took place in Nepal in 2015, India was the first country to provide blankets, all the things were airlifted to that one, okay? During COVID crisis,
Yes, sir.
COVID-19, Covishield, Covaxin, all the vaccines, okay, as part of the India's very spread out vaccine diplomacy, okay, under
Yes,
a
sir.
scheme called Vaccine Maitri, we sent lot of complementary vaccines to all the neighboring countries as part of the India's neighborhood outreach, to Nepal, to Bhutan, to Bangladesh, to many countries in the world. Okay? And they still appreciate,
Yes.
they are still very, very grateful. So, and support the goals and objectives of the United Nations. Okay. United Nations, we supported that. India is one of the founding members of the United Nations in 45. It's very sad that India is not a member of the UN Security Council as a permanent member. Maybe you can ask me this question next class or the class after. I can give you the reason why India is still not a member. But India definitely deserves to be a permanent member of the UN Security Council. But in terms of our
Yes, sir.
contribution in peacekeeping, peacemaking, peace building, I think you have been doing pretty well. I think we deserve that. Because if you look at the power equation from 1945 till today, a lot of things has changed. Look at Great Britain. I'm not against Great Britain. But is Great Britain that powerful today as it was in 1945 at the end of the
No,
World War?
sir.
I don't think so. Germany was a
Yes,
defeated
sir.
country in 1945. But today, look at Germany. Germany is probably the most powerful country in Europe today, but it is not a member. Brazil is not a member of UN Security Council.
Yes, sir.
Argentina is not a member. There is no country from Africa, no Nigeria, no Egypt, no nothing. Okay. Japan is not a member. Okay. So why it is so?
Yes, sir.
So maybe in one class, maybe you can ask me, okay, I can give you some reasons, so we can discuss them. So again, I think,
Okay, sir.
any quick question, any comments before we wrap it up for today?
No, sir. Um, And I think I'm done. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So thank you very much. Okay, I very much welcome. Okay, that you are here at least. Okay, so hopefully some more people will join. Okay, it's nice talking to you and getting your viewpoints. And let us make it much more interactive. So whenever you have any queries or any comments, please feel free to ask me. Okay, I'll be more than happy to
Yes,
go
sir.
and we'll discuss that. Okay, if you have any question, just write it down on a piece of paper. Maybe what I'll do is next class, I'll speak for 45 minutes and then I can respond to your queries or I can listen to your viewpoints and we can have a free exchange of ideas, okay, and interactions kind of things, okay?
Yes, sir.
Knowledge is something
Yes, sir.
to develop in a much more critical ways, okay? I'm willing to listen to different viewpoints, different perspectives, and that's one way that we all can enrich ourselves, okay? So thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Nice
Yes, sir.
day, and thanks for coming to our class today. So thank you very much. Thank you. See you next Sunday
Thank you,
around
sir.
time. Thank you.